Opinion with the art of Jiu-Jitsu, the science of Jiu-Jitsu, science of wrestling, art of Jiu-Jitsu. Here's a great technique. This is called the double wrist lock standing. And this is it's sort of like a Kimura here, and baby, it hurts. When you pop that in on somebody, they're going to pay a lot of attention because they're going to be screaming. The hold is taken from the standing position. Let me read it big. You grasp your opponent's left wrist with your right hand. Reach over the back of your left arm, taking hold of your right wrist and locking it illustrated. Push it up as far as possible. Fall backwards on your shoulder and carry him over. Let me tell you something. Whenever someone gets that locked up behind your back like that, you are in a lot of trouble. This can break your shoulder and your arm and your elbow very easily. This is a terrifically painful lock. It's called a Kimura in Jiu-Jitsu. But this is more like it's doing a hammer lock from behind. And let me tell you, if you've never had that put on you, it hurts an awful lot. It can break your arm and shoulder and elbow very quickly. And from there, he's going to fall backwards and secure him into a bigger hold here. Now, what he's done here, by carrying your opponent over, as in the previous picture, he is now brought to the mat. And while he is falling, you shift your position that will enable you to secure a head scissors combined with a double wrist lock, thereby securing the fall and breaking his neck and breaking his shoulder. So when we threw him over here, we threw him over and fell backwards. We threw him over and we fell straight to our left shoulder. We fell straight to our left shoulder, which put him right in front of us. Then we locked his head. Now, as you can see here, because he's doing this as wrestling, not jiu-jitsu, he doesn't have him in a choke there. You put their legs around his head and you figure four your legs like that and you choke, you can choke his head right off. And you still have that arm bar right there. And it's so painful, even from the side, it's going to just break his wrist. It's going to break his elbow. It's going to break his shoulder. So that's a great technique that you should be learning and practicing right now. You should be practicing this technique. If you can't do this in your jiu-jitsu or MMA class, you don't know as much as you should. Remember, this is 85 years old, and he's showing you how to do a great Jujitsu Armbar, folks. You could spin around to the front and break the arm right off, couldn't you? You could lock your legs right there. You could reach in there, and Farmer Burns does this, and he'll come up and do a grapevine here. So he takes his right leg and wraps it around the other guy's leg. He wraps it around the other guy's left leg, and then he's got him in a grapevine and an armbar, hammerlock. It'll just break his arm right off. And when I say stuff like break his arm off, all of you who have never experienced this don't understand what I'm saying. It will break your arm. It will break your shoulder. It will break your arm. This will choke you unconscious. This will break your wrist. This will break your shoulder. This will put you out of the fight. Period. You're in a hard position to overcome here when you're locked into that position, folks. Ooh, he's getting ready to do a bad one. He's getting ready to do a bad one. Standing double wrist lock with a back heel. This hold can be secured from the referee's hold by taking hold of your opponent's left wrist with your right hand, bringing your left arm over his head, and in back of his left arm, grasp your right wrist. At the same time, step in back of your opponent's left knee with your left leg and force him backwards. So now he's doing that he's starting to try and do the arm bar. So he's got the double arm bar here, or the double wrist lock. What are you calling it? Double wrist lock or double arm bar? He's calling it the double wrist lock. And now he's going to smash him backwards because he's going to kick him to the mat. See how he's got that leg there? That's called a reap or a sweep in judo. So you're going to reap that, sweep him to the mat, and just smash him on the ground. That's a hard fall to take. Depending on how you kick your leg, you don't want to just pull your leg. Lift that leg as high as you can. Try and kick yourself in the butt. Then that's called a reap, and you can throw him on the ground very hard there. Put him on his back and do a lot of damage to him. Now what he's done from there, he's taken him to his back. You now have your opponent on the mat. After your back heeled him to a sitting position, retrain the double wrist lock and force his shoulders backwards. So from here, he's still got him out there. Now put your arm out to the side, folks. You want to see how this feels? Just put your arm out to your side and start bending it behind your back. Do you feel do that? Just sit in your chair, put your arm out to your side, now start bending your elbow straight behind your back. You feel that? Do you see how that doesn't go that way? Because my arm is outstretched here. If my arm is bent in, it'll go back that way. But it's outstretched like that. It's got that wrist locked. And turn your wrist backwards. This is a wrist lock. Put your arm by your side. Turn your wrist forward like you're shaking hands. That doesn't hurt, does it? Put your arm to your side, turn your wrist forward. That doesn't hurt. Turn your wrist in as far as you can. In. Now lean it back and look what that does. That breaks your wrist, that breaks your elbow, that breaks your shoulder. Turn your wrist like it's a handshake, and your arm goes back, your shoulder goes back, doesn't hurt at all. This is a wrist lock. This is a wrist lock. He's turning that wrist over. He's turning that wrist towards his body. See how that left finger is turning towards his knee? The more he turns that finger, the more this hurts him. And I'm telling you, you can experience this right now with no one doing it. You can experience this right now with no more than just doing it yourself. Put your hand by your side, put it in a handshaking position, doesn't hurt at all. Turn your wrist over, turn it over, lean it back. And brother, you are breaking your wrist. You are breaking your elbow. You are finishing that fight quick. That's a great, great technique. Now he's taking him from here all the way to the ground. You can break it right there in the air, but he's going to force him backwards here. After you force your opponent's shoulder to the mat, shift your legs and retain your double wrist lock on his left arm. Now pin his right arm on the mat with your left knee. If he still resists, put pressure on his arm and twist it towards his head. So he's got the left arm pinned down with his knee. He's got the right arm in a double wrist lock. And he's going to break that arm right off. If he resists, twist it and bend it and twist it towards his head. So I hate to tell you this, put your arm up in the air like that and see what that does. Put your arm straight out to the side, because this is straight out to the side, folks. He's got that crossed, he's got his left arm locked up, and he starts twisting that towards your head. You're going to start screaming. You can start screaming. And that is just a nasty, nasty technique, folks. That hurts a lot. You need to learn this technique here, because this is a great jiu-jitsu technique that's 85 years old that you can do right now in Dallas, Texas, or wherever you're at. Isn't that sweet that this machine does that? So this is a great technique you can do anywhere you're at. And look at this. He's starting out with a wrist lock, and he's coming down and he's tripping him to the ground. He's tripping him to the ground, folks. When he's got him on the ground here, that hurts. Right there, I can break his arm. Right there, I can assure you I can break his arm. But he wants to even be nastier and meaner and more powerful to him. He's going to take him all the way to his back. And after he takes him to his back, he's going to lock his left arm by putting his knee on it. Got his left arm locked, put his knee on it, and now he's going to just break that shoulder right off his body, folks. That's a powerful technique. That hurts, folks. That's a great technique, ain't it, for someone that's 85 years old? Oh my goodness. This one's a nice. Here's the counter for this. When your opponent starts a double wrist lock, before he is able to push your arm upwards too far, take a hold of your left hand with your right hand and break his hold. Retain your hold and pull his arm up further for a reverse bar, thereby putting him to the mat. So what he's doing here, the guy's starting to try and do it, and what he's got to do, he's got to break the guy's hold here. He's going to break the guy's hold by grabbing his left wrist, breaking the hold, and in turn he's going to put him on the mat. Here your holds have been countered. You can grapevine your left leg around his right leg, thereby giving you a greater leverage, then block the counter and afford you the chance to bring him to the mat. So look, he's fighting with you. And you're going to counter that wrist lock. He's trying to put it on you. You're going to counter it by grabbing your wrist. That stops him from locking it. See how he's grabbed his own wrist to stop him from locking it? The man on the left is doing the counter here. He's grabbing his wrist to stop him from locking it up. Then he's going to step in and grapevine the guy's leg. The man on the right is doing the counter. The man on the right is doing the counter. The man on the right has grabbed his wrist. The man on the right has grabbed his wrist, and he's going to throw him to the mat. The man with the white shoes. Double wrist lock with the side roll. Let's learn this one, folks. When your opponent is over to you on the mat with his right arm around your waist, grab his right wrist with your left hand. Reach quickly to the back with your right arm. Grab your left wrist with your left hand as illustrated. Then start to roll sideways. So he's reached around you in a typical wrestling move here. You're going to reach up and grab his right wrist. So you've now pulled his wrist off of you. And you're going to do a double wrist lock there. So you're going to grab your own wrist. That's called a double wrist lock. He's going to grab your both wrists. Okay? And then he's going to take him and throw him or roll him to the mat. So he's locked it up here. He's locked it up. At the same time, he's going to roll him over to the mat while he continues to hold the wrist. While you continue to hold the wrist, he's going to lock him up there, folks. So that's a great technique there. And what does he say here on the bottom? When lifting your opponent sideways, let me read this to get a little taller here. When you lift your opponent sideways, endeavor to pin his shoulders on the mat. You must retain your double wrist lock. So from here, he's got him here in that double wrist lock. And he's going to put his shoulders on the mat. He's going to put his shoulders on the mat. Now that's not really a good finishing technique right there. That's not a great finishing technique right there. But it's going to allow you to have a lot of control. It's going to allow you to have an awful lot of control right there, folks. This was a lot better. So from there, oh, he's going to finish it from here. So he's got him from here. He's got him pushed back. So you got to follow each one of these. So he's got him locked. He rolled him to the side. So here's not, like I said, this is not a good finishing technique. So look what he does. He now steps over and jumps to the other side. So let's increase it so we can tell you what he says he does. As your opponent, you will be on top of him. Then you can pin his shoulders to the mat. Quickly throw your body over and with the knee on his arm. And of course, retain your double wrist lock. Now this is a good finish, folks. So from there, what he did, he locked him up here. He rolled him to the side, put his arm on the ground, then jumped over the top of him and jumped onto his other arm. See how he's got his left arm blocked with his knee. At the same time, he's got his right arm in a double wrist lock here. So that makes it a terrifically powerful hold there, and that is a good finish. Now all he's got to do is lift that up towards the guy's neck. Pull the shoulder back and lift it up towards the guy's neck, and you get that wrist up and it'll break his shoulder very easily. It'll very easily break his shoulder. Very easily break his shoulder. So you see how beautiful that move was? You jumped over there, and when you get someone in this position, they're in a lot of trouble, folks. They're in a lot of trouble here. So since we didn't understand that move from the beginning, go through it again. Someone's reached around your waist. They're trying to take back control. These guys are trying to do back control with you, right? Grab their wrist. Now, what you're going to do from there is you're going to roll him over. When you roll him over, this is, when I was looking the first time, I said, that's not a good finish. That's right. You know why? That ain't a finish. It could be a pin in wrestling, but because we're doing jiu-jitsu more, you're going to now jump over the top of him. And here's the beautiful part of this, is that some people don't understand, is you have to use your arms as another leg. You have to use your legs as another arm. He's holding his left arm down with his leg. In the modern jiu-jitsu, they'll tend to wrap that up into a figure four. So that's almost like a crucifix there. When you have somebody's left arm wrapped up or controlled by your leg there, first of all, you can put that in his knee. It's going to hurt him. You could be kneeing him in the side of the head there and be hurting the hell out of him, couldn't you? You could be making the guy give up by kneeing him in the head there big time, couldn't you? You can do a figure four around that arm and you can just crack that arm. But the one that hurts here, and so you got to understand what this feels like. Put your arm straight out to the side. Now start lifting it up and twisting it towards your back, and you're going to feel what that feels like. As he starts lifting it up and twisting it towards his back, it puts an unbelievable amount of torque into the guy's shoulder and to his elbow, and it will break his elbow. it will break his shoulder. And don't forget, in the street here, you could be kneeing that guy in the head. So this is an easy technique. It's not that sophisticated, but it's a terrifically powerful technique. He just doesn't have any chance of stopping it.